It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, the latest from the Middle East as hope grows for peace in Gaza. Israel's cabinet meeting to ratify the first phase of Donald Trump's peace deal with Hamas. The US president calling it a momentous breakthrough.
We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace.
Celebrations in Israel as the families of hostages wait for their loved ones to be released. In Gaza, optimism comes with caution, with many unanswered questions about its long-term future. Coming up on the programme, we'll hear from the wife of Hamza Yousaf, Nadia El Nakla, who we first spoke to 2 years ago, to find out how her family in Gaza reacted to the news of possible peace. Also tonight, police say a man arrested and then released in connection with the Heaton Park Synagogue attack has been re-arrested at Manchester Airport. It comes as the city remembers the victims of the attack 1 week on, with the killer's father calling for unity. Plus, the siblings of Madeleine McCann describe the stress caused by an alleged stalker who claimed to be their sister. We'll have the latest from court. And why the Princess of Wales has sounded the alarm about the impact of screen time on family life. Well, that's come. Much more on the UK Tonight. We begin with events in the Middle East, where a Gaza peace plan has been agreed. The US president calling it a momentous breakthrough after Israel and Hamas agreed to his deal. Well, tonight, Donald Trump said the remaining Israeli hostages will be released early next week and that he expects to go to the Middle East for a formal ceremony to mark the agreement. We're expecting to hear from Donald Trump during this hour from the White House. We will be standing by to bring you that live. But first, our international correspondent Alex Rossi reports from Tel Aviv on the extraordinary events of the past 24 hours.
They had dreamed of this day, hoped for it, but even now, many can hardly believe it has finally come. In Hostages Square, where families and supporters gathered to plead for an end to the war and the safe return of the captives, there's now music, dancing, and tears of joy. For Danny Moran, whose son Omri was kidnapped from Kibbutz Nahal Oz, it is a moment of overwhelming relief.
I feel a heavenly sense of joy and overwhelmed with emotion. There's no greater joy than this. It's been like waiting 9 months for a baby in pregnancy, and instead, I've been waiting for my child for 2 years. I feel ecstatic.
But for other families who are waiting for the return of the bodies of their loved ones, it is a time of subdued celebration, joy tempered by grief and the weight of loss.
My father was there for 4 months alive, and that we failed to bring him for his release. And that if we're going to get lucky, so to speak, which is a crazy thing, lucky to get his remains and kind of bury him. That's what I'm expecting from me personally. Okay, the best outcome for me is to actually get something to bury.
After 3 days of negotiations, the breakthrough was announced by Donald Trump, first on social media, then in the White House, keen to show off the power of his diplomacy.
Last night we reached a momentous breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. The whole world has come together for this. People that didn't get along, people that didn't like each other, neighboring countries that frankly didn't like each other, but now it's just this moment in time.
This has been a turbulent few days. The talks in Egypt were tense at first, but eventually common ground was found and an agreement was reached. The Gaza Strip has been pounded for the last 2 years. The suffering of the population has been immense. The deal will also see huge amounts of aid flooding the enclave. But the sense of loss in this shattered place is staggering.
They are saying there is a ceasefire now. After what? After our beloved families and relatives died? What do we have left in the Gaza Strip? It's a wreck. There is no suitable housing, not even for dogs.
And even after the agreement was announced, the fighting continued. Israeli tanks seen firing on Gaza's main coastal roads. The ceasefire is not expected to begin until Friday evening. This long war has caused extensive damage. It's hard to think how this place can be rebuilt. By evening, Israel's Prime Minister convened his security cabinet to discuss the new deal in the face of opposition from far-right ministers. The truth is that Benjamin Netanyahu had no choice but to go along with the deal. It was pushed through by the force of one man, the US president. And here he's being feted as the hero of the hour. The celebrations here in Hostages Square have been going on for hours and will likely go on late into the night. But this is only the first phase of the Trump plan. Much could still go wrong if a more lasting peace is to be achieved. The question now is, will it hold and will it progress? The Trump plan lays out a vision for a comprehensive peace. The first step, a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of hostages. But despite the euphoria here, the next steps will be even more difficult. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Tel Aviv.
Let's bring you the latest from the White House. Within the last few moments, the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, has arrived. Here is President Trump waiting to greet him. This happening around 5 minutes or so ago. President Trump holding a meeting with the President of Finland before, of course, he heads to the Middle East for that hostage release. We are expecting the two men to give a press conference in the Oval Office. No doubt President Trump will have more to say about what is happening in the Middle East, as well as the discussions he is having about relations between Finland and the US. As soon as the two men go into the Oval Office for that press conference, we'll bring it to you here on Sky News. Well, phase one of Trump's peace plan may have been agreed, but it's just one step on a road to a longer-term settlement. Our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons has been taking a look at the possible hurdles on the path to peace in Gaza.
In Gaza, there is delight at this ceasefire, but it is a joy that's tempered by the stark, grim facts. 67,000 people have been killed here over the past 2 years. The bombs have destroyed homes, towns and trust. Nobody dares to believe that peace will be permanent. In Gaza, many believe Israel still harbours hopes of annexing this land. Ahed Fairwana is a well-known political analyst. He's lived through this war and has been displaced from his home. Fairwana told us the peace plan was vague, but that he hoped it would thwart any plans Israel had to return.
Hamas has previously said it is willing to give up its weapons for a Palestinian state, but Trump's plan proposes international oversight instead, and that creates ambiguity. Still, if there is substantial internal and external pressure, I think an agreement is likely, amid it denying Israel any pretext to continue justifying its aggression in Gaza.
Smoke still rises over Gaza. The fighting has not yet stopped. But this is how things might change. At the moment, Gazans have been told to head towards a so-called humanitarian zone to stay safe. Under the plan, the IDF would withdraw behind this yellow line, but they would still control half the territory. The Trump plan also calls for an international body to run Gaza in the future, and for many that is unacceptable, an overhang of colonial instincts.
The board of peace will need to have more than just two figureheads from the West. This isn't 1919 anymore, and it's got to have credible figures from the region and from the Palestinian community as well, in order to make future governance of Gaza much more likely as an issue of self-determination. It cannot be seen as something being imposed by those from the West again.
Please, order in the hall.
Israel's global reputation has been battered. Witness the walkout at the United Nations before Benjamin Netanyahu's speech. Even its closest relationships have been strained. So how has the Middle East been changed by the past 2 years of war?
I think, if anything, the region now is certainly far less safer than it has been in the last few decades. And that includes Israel and Israelis themselves. Israel has been so emboldened enough to admit that it is looking to expand its borders and has continued aggressions, has continued violations, has continued to rescind its various agreements with different states in the region.
This deal is not perfect. It's not a long-term, comprehensive solution to the region's problems. But it does offer respite, optimism and breathing space. And after 2 years of harrowing war, that's something many will cherish. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Jerusalem.
Well, after the deal was announced last night, there were celebrations in Gaza and across the Middle East. But for many Israelis and Palestinians, hope comes with caution, with many questions still left unanswered. 2 years ago, after the war broke out, I spoke to Nadia El-Nakla, the wife of Scottish former First Minister Humza Yousaf. Nadia has family living in Gaza. Back in October 2023, she described to me the situation there.
My brother lives in Gaza. He's lived through the wars. He is an ER doctor, and at first he was just concerned about getting my parents out of Gaza. He said they're not used to it. We have to get them out as soon as possible. But in the last few days, he has said that what he is seeing and experiencing is nothing like ever before. It's completely terrifying. What's happening at the hospitals with not enough beds, with not enough supplies, we can't get ambulances to people. It's a real desperate situation and they're all very scared.
That was almost 2 years ago exactly. Well, I sat down with Nadia again today to find out what the last couple of years have been like for her and her family in Gaza. I started by asking Nadia to react to the news of a possible peace deal in the region.
Such complex emotions, to be honest. I feel so relieved that the killing will stop, and that's, I think, at the forefront of everyone's mind, that they're not being killed. I think then the worry is that will this actually happen? So my cousin sent me a voice note who's in Gaza, and she said, Nadia, is it happening? Do you know, will it happen? We're so happy. We're just so happy. So I think people on the ground are just so desperate for some relief after years of hell.
You have been lucky in the fact that you've been able to maintain contact with your relatives in Gaza. I know that can at times be difficult because of what they relay to you about what they're living through. But obviously disbelief that finally this could be different. This could actually be a ceasefire and a peace deal in the making. Just explain to me more about what they've said, the emotions they're feeling about what's coming in the next few days.
I think we don't actually have a lot of contact with my family because it's so difficult. And so Sally just sent me a 30-second voice note saying, is this true? Is it happening? Thank you so much if it is. I asked my dad this afternoon, has he heard from his aunt who was in the north of Gaza with her family? And he said he doesn't know where they are. So it's very mixed emotions. They've been through so much and they've survived. And, my brother's been made a refugee, my gran a refugee for the second time. It's hard to celebrate when we've got such huge death toll, destruction, displacement. But at the same time, we have to feel some kind of hope that this will take us to peace, and actually not just peace for a few months or a few years, but actually long-lasting resolution to the problem.
In a ceasefire and this potential peace deal, obviously from the Israeli side, there's a lot of focus on hostages. For those living in Gaza, it's about stopping the daily attacks, the bombing, and also aid getting in, because we know only too well that, Gazans are living just a few miles from aid. They cannot reach it, it cannot get to them. The hope is that this will change in the coming days. Talk to me about what life has been like day to day for your family without that kind of support.
Yeah, it's just been miserable. It's just been living hour to hour almost of what can we find, what can we get. While the bombs are still dropping, I don't know if people truly understand how consistent dropping of bombs and gunfire and tanks it has been. There has been no let up. We had a short ceasefire months ago, but there's really been no relief for them to even sleep without a drone flying over their head. So the actual mental health impact that the Gazans will be enduring, and then for that to stop, then the grief that they're going to feel, the fact that they've lost their home and they've lost everything. Their kids haven't been to school in 2 years. There's just the magnitude of the war stopping, and then the actual reality of what's happened to them will then sink in. But, aid, medical supplies, good night's sleep without the fear of dying. These are all things that we just want them to have and they should have. And that's what they're just dreaming of right now. Sleep, food, and medical assistance.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, let's just take you now live to the White House. President Trump speaking alongside the President of Finland.
They had no idea how much it was going to cost. They knew nothing. And we have our Secretary of the Navy right over here, and we're working on a lot more than icebreakers. We're working on some very, very big and important ships. But they had no idea what they were doing. And I was with you, and I ended up meeting you and knowing you, and I heard about Finland and their icebreakers, and I said, do me a favor, would you have your people take a look at what these people are doing? And it came out that, just as I thought, they had no idea what they were doing. And we got involved, and we ended up, we need these ships very badly, because we have a lot of territory, more than anybody. And so I'm very honored to have this deal, and thank you very much. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great partnership. And it's a great honor to have you, Mr. Prime Minister. Would you like to say something, please?
First, Mr. President, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here today. And as a Prime Minister of Finland, I want to say that this deal it's very important to Finland and our economy, because our economy is suffering a lot because of Russian aggression in Ukraine. And this deal, it means investments, it means jobs, and jobs means hope. And that's why this is so important. And I want to thank your leadership on this deal and this issue. Thank you very much.
So you've been affected very badly by the war going on, the ridiculous war going on, right?
Yes, because we have to close the border with Russia. We have 1,300 kilometers common border with them, and affects the atmosphere in Finland, in investments, and that's why we need good news. Our people need hope.
Right. So your border is closed.
It's closed.
And that's because you have so many Russians trying to get in?
Yes, they started to push illegal migrants to our border. That's why we were forced to close it.
And people also that don't want to go into the military, I guess, trying to come through, right?
Yeah, some of them are escaping. Fortunately, on our side, we don't have that problem. In Finland,
no, you have a great military.
We have compulsory military service, and as I always say, we have 900,000 men and women who've done it, including myself and the Prime Minister. We have 200.
And you've been fighting Russia for a long time. So how many years have you been indirectly fighting Russia?
Well, put it this way, we have managed our relationship since the 1300s with about 30 skirmishes, but it's been very peaceful at our border after World War II. Yeah, but it's been peaceful at our border since the Winter War and the War of Continuation. But, I mean, a lot of it is because we actually have a very large military. It's the biggest in Europe together with Turkey, Ukraine and Poland. We have over 60 F-18s. We just bought 64 F-35s. We'll roll out the first one in Texas in December. We have the biggest artillery in Europe together with Poland. And as I always say, we don't have it because we're worried about Stockholm.
Well, you really have proportionately, I think, the largest military in the world, proportionately.
It's quite big, yes, I have to admit. But, you know, we have it for defense purposes and also to build a deterrence. And it's worked, and I think that's one of the reasons that our relationship is so good as well. We have the Defense Cooperation Agreement with you. Right. We're new allies in NATO. Our defense expenditure is going north of 3%. We work very closely with you and the rest of our allies. And, you know, when you push the ceiling of defense expenditure in NATO to 5%, you can imagine that a country like Finland was quite pleased with that, because that means that all of the allies have to bring up their defense expenditure. And you basically increased our security just with that decision in The Hague. And I have to admit that having been to my first NATO summit in the summer of 2024, if someone would have told me that you will move from 2% to 5% after Trump enters, I would have said, go see a doctor. But, you know,
well, they had to do it, and you were great about it. Spain has not been. Spain is the one that didn't do it. And so I think you people are going to have to start speaking to Spain. The only one that didn't do it, the only NATO country that didn't do it is Spain. And you'll figure what that's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll work, and I think with the leadership also of Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO. I think, you know, there are a lot of commitments that have to take place, and this, of course, is going to also increase industrial defense exchanges. think we buy 4 times more military material here from the US, and I think it's an essential part of our whole military setup in Europe. And it's good to be working on this together. But there's one thing that I wanted to mention also. I want to congratulate you for what we have seen in the past 24 hours in Gaza.
Thank you.
I think it's a historic deal. I went through the 20 points. It's almost like the best of record. You really see all the key elements. And if someone would have said a few weeks back that you and your team are able to push us to a position where there will be a ceasefire, an exchange of prisoners, hostages, and then a pullback, I would not have believed it. But it's this is what diplomacy is at its best, and I think it's a potentially huge deal. So congratulations to you and your team.
Peace in the Middle East.
Peace in the Middle East, yeah.
And every country came together. Every single country came together, and people are shocked by it. But it's an amazing situation. Nobody thought it was going to happen. Thank you very much. And you've been of help too. You help always. But we are really working more closely together, having to do with Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that would have been easier because that would be number 8 for me, number 8. And I would have thought the Russia deal maybe would have been one of the easier ones. And unfortunately, last week they had over 7,000 soldiers die unnecessarily. So it's a terrible thing, but I think we'll be getting there hopefully soon.
Yeah, and probably we'll go, or you will be going piece by piece. There are only so many agreements that you can get done, and I think this one will be the next big one. Of course, this one needs to stick, and I'm sure it will, because the incentives are all there, and then we'll continue to work. The last time I was here in the Oval Office was with the other European leaders in August, and I think we did a lot of good advancement there on security arrangements. I think you pushed us Europeans hard not to buy oil and gas from Russia, which I think is a very correct decision. Europe just put down its 19th sanctions package. I think Russia is actually right now, both economically and militarily, not in a very strong place. And I think it's because of the commitments that we've made to Ukraine. So, day by day on this one.
Yeah, we're going to get it worked out.
Well, we just seem to have lost the live feed to the Oval Office. President Trump speaking alongside the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb. We're working hard to get that back for you. They were talking about the deals to do with shipbuilding, as I understand it, between the two nations. But no, we can't get that at the moment for some reason. So we will move on and bring you any more that comes out of that press conference in the Oval Office as soon as we get it. Of course, there are bound to be questions about the peace deal. You had the Finnish president there congratulating President Trump on the deal. And as part of that deal, we know that all Israeli hostages, alive and dead, will be returned. Both the remaining hostages and the bodies of those who died in captivity are expected to return to Israel, we understand, at the start of next week. President Trump saying Monday, perhaps Tuesday. Well, this is the scene live in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv right now. Families have been celebrating throughout the day. Well, I'm joined now by Stephen Brisley. Stephen's sister and her 2 daughters were killed in the Hamas attack on October 7th. His brother-in-law, Eli Sharabi, was taken hostage before being released. Eli's brother was also kidnapped but died in captivity. His family is still waiting for his body to be returned. The hope that that will be at the start of next week. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. We've been reflecting the mood amongst those affected over the last 24 hours here on Sky News, and it seems that there are complicated emotions involved ahead of next week. How are you feeling?
It's, as is ever the case with these things, it's cautious optimism, cautious relief. It's feelings that we guard closely because we've had our hearts broken and hopes raised many times in the past. This looks like the deal that is going to bring our loved ones home. Yossi's body, we already know that he's dead, but there are other live hostages that will be coming home to embrace their families. So it's bittersweet that we share in the joy and the pain of each other's hostage families, and so it's sadly Yossi coming back for burial, but happiness at the likes of Inaton Orr, whose British mother I've spent time with, and Alon Ohel, who was held in captivity with Ellie coming out. So it's a bittersweet moment, but obviously we'll be happy when all 48 hostages are home.
Yeah, whatever situation as a family of a hostage you find yourselves in, you all have this bond, and I know that even hostages have been returned are very much part of this group waiting, as you said, for the 48 to be returned home. That is the aim, whatever situation your family finds itself in. But I just want to ask you about the word coming from Hamas in the lead up to this and the talk of missing bodies. We understand that after the Israeli military withdraw to the agreed lines of this phase one, Hamas will then be given 72 hours to return hostages. And there has been this talk of missing bodies, some talk of logistics. What was your thought when you heard that?
Well, it's what we've always feared with the devastation in Gaza, that our loved ones' bodies would be buried under hundreds of tons of rubble. I appreciate the logistics of trying to find the bodies, but that's tempered with the possibility that this is another piece of Hamas propaganda, another piece of Hamas psychological torture, their final hurrah to visit pain upon us. If any of those that we have lost in captivity are not returned to us for the dignified burial that they so richly deserve, it will be just cruelty upon cruelty. As it is, we know that even when the bodies come back, it won't be immediate that we'll be able to confirm that it is our loved ones. We've seen in the past, Shiri Bibas's body was brought back, and it was not her body. So there are all these extra layers that will add to our upset and our trauma. And only once we've actually had confirmed that all 48 are back and they are who they purport to be, then we can start to move on to the next stage of our recovery.
Stephen, would you be kind enough to stay with us for the next few minutes? Because I just want to take our viewers back to the White House. President Trump is speaking about the situation in the Middle East. Let's listen in.
And they are stepping it up. And we're selling a lot of weapons to NATO, and that's going, I guess, to Ukraine for the most part. That's up to them. But they're buying weapons from the U.S. We make the greatest weapons in the world. You buy our planes and a lot of our equipment. And you have a big force, actually. You have a tremendous force of equipment. So I think we'll get that one done too, yeah.
President Obama got it for way less. Mr. President, I'm from Finland. Mr. President, I'm from Finland. Yeah. Am I okay?
He's all right.
I'm all right. Mr. President.
Great.
Yeah, President. You are buying icebreakers from Finland.
Yeah.
But what if Russia and Vladimir Putin attacks Finland? Would you defend Finland?
I would. Yes, I would. They're a member of NATO. I would. They're great people, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah. I think the chances of that are very, very small. But it's very interesting because you have a military relative to your size. You have a very powerful military, one of the best. Certainly, we will be there to help. Okay?
Thank you.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Okay, please.
Mr. President, thank you. We have a big border, as our president said. How would you exactly defend Finland? And yeah, thank you.
Say what?
How would you defend Finland?
Vigorously.
Can I just add on that? We're very pleased with the fact that we have so much training going on with American soldiers right now. So they're getting experience from Arctic conditions. And we're integrating our militaries together, working not only through the DCA agreement, but other ways as well. We see that day to day in the work that we do, and it's working well.
Okay? Yes. Please.
Yeah, thank you. How do you see this?
From?
I'm from Finland too, Finnish news agency.
This is very impressive.
So, Mr. President.
Better than our reporters.
Thank you.
So how do you see the situation in the Arctic developing? Are there going to be any mutual plans for Finland and US to collaborate there?
We have a lot of relationships together. I mean, mostly buying our military equipment. They buy a lot of it. They have an order, I guess, 60 planes, 64 F-35s, and many other things too. It's a big order. Big countries don't order that many planes. You know, it's
10 billion.
You have a lot of aircraft, a lot of great military. We make the best military equipment. They buy a lot from us, so it's very good. We're going to work together very closely with Finland and with NATO. We have a very good relationship. As you know, I requested that they pay 5%, not 2%, and most people thought that was not going to happen, and it happened virtually unanimously. We had one laggard. It was Spain. Spain. You have to call them and find why are they a laggard, and they're doing well too. You know, the funny thing, because of a lot of the things we've done, they're doing fine. They have no excuse not to do this, but that's all right. Maybe you should throw them out of NATO, frankly.
Mr. President,
please, go ahead.
What are you planning to do with
Tall
that?
gentleman, nice tall gentleman with the yellow shirt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to change gears just really quickly and ask you, you're going to Walter Reed tomorrow? What are you having done, and how are you feeling?
I'm meeting with the troops, and I'm also going to do a sort of semi-annual physical, which I do. And I think I'm in great shape, but I'll let you know. But I have no difficulty thus far. Is there wood around here? I'm not going. No difficulty. Physically, I feel very good. Mentally, I feel very good. You know, I did about 6-7 months ago. I do physicals. I like to, when I'm around, I like to check always early. Always be early. It's a lesson for a lot of people. But I also did a cognitive exam, which is always very risky because if I didn't do well, you'd be the first to be blaring it. And I had a perfect score. And one of the doctors said he's almost never seen a perfect score. I had a perfect score. I got the highest score. And that made me feel good. When they asked, would I like to do one, I said, yeah. I said, did Obama do it? No. Did Bush do it? No. Did Biden do it? I definitely did. Biden wouldn't have gotten the first 3 questions right. No, Biden didn't do it. Biden should have done it. I'm actually a person that believes that if you're president, you should do a cognitive exam. But last time I took a cognitive exam, and it was a perfect score. The doctors announced it. And by the way, not the easiest test. The first few questions are pretty easy. Once you get into the middle, it gets a little trickier. And there aren't a lot of people in this room that would get every single question right, I can guarantee
You're putting me in a difficult spot now. Next question.
Mr. President, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for way less than you did, and President Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for way less.
For doing nothing.
Exactly.
Obama got a prize. He didn't even know what he got. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. No, he was not a good president. The worst president was Sleepy Joe Biden, but Obama was not a good president.
Are you going to do something with the
They
Hezbollah?
gave him a prize. How many months after he won the election, then they gave him the Peace Prize, right?
It was right
Before he was elected.
Are you going to take
My election was a much more important election.
Now that you're fixing the situation between Hamas and Israel, are you going to be taking care of the Hezbollah or the Lebanese armed forces to take care of the Hezbollah?
Yeah, we'll be able to do that. That will be, it's a smaller part of the puzzle, but very important part. They have a great new ambassador that I appointed, Michelle. Great new ambassador. So yeah, please.
Mr. President, you have said that the hostages will be released on Monday or Tuesday. What's your strict deadline? When do they have to get released? And how do you make sure each party abides by the
It's
bill?
gonna be around that time, yeah. They're working on it very hard.
Tuesday after
They're in very diverse parts of the earth, okay? They're very, very diverse. Actually, it's, I think they're gonna come through. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I think it'll happen.
Mr. President, go to Gaza.
Thank you, sir. The 19th point of the 20-point plan said that in the future there could be conditions in which the Palestinians might eventually get a state. Under what conditions do you think the Palestinians could have their
Well,
own
we'll look
state
at
in
it
the
at the
future?
time. We're going to see how it all goes. And, you know, there's a point at which we may do something that would be a little bit different and maybe very positive for everybody. But we'll be looking at that at the time.
Mr. President, do you
I think we'll get to that. I think we'll get to that period too. Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please. Glasses.
Thank you. Mr. President, the United States has previously said that that Europe would have to take more responsibility for its own security. Are you or the US planning to withdraw some of the US forces from the European soil?
No, but we may move some around a little bit. I'd ask you that question, Pete. Go ahead.
I think that's right, Mr. President. We're very much heartened by your leadership to get NATO to rise up to 5%, which means they can take primary responsibility for defense of the continent. But that doesn't mean America is abandoning NATO in Europe. But we could look at where our troops are postured, what makes the most sense for America and our NATO allies.
We have a lot of troops in Europe, as you know, a lot. And we can move them around a little bit. But no, basically we'll be pretty much set. Go ahead, what's your second?
My second question would be, are you planning to impose more sanctions on Russia at this point?
I might.
Mr. President, your 20-point plan says we will encourage people to stay. Can you confirm that as Gaza is rebuilt, that no one will be forced to leave?
Yeah, nobody's going to be forced to leave, no. It's just the opposite. This is a great plan. This is a great peace plan. This is a plan that was supported by everybody. I mean, as I said, they're dancing in the streets of many, many countries right now. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. No, we're not looking to do that at all.
And on the shutdown, Mr. President, on the shutdown.
We could see a full withdrawal.
Mr. President, can you cut through politics on the shutdown? We had another failed vote today. Can you speak to our viewers from Orlando to Sacramento? What's your message to some of these families tonight facing missed paychecks, potential layoffs, and missed benefits due to the shutdown?
Yeah, I blame the Democrats. They ought to call their local Democrat representative, whether it's a senator or a congressman, and it's their fault. I mean, they admit it's their fault. They campaigned on the fact that they'd never shut down the country, but they want to shut it down. And, you know, we have the greatest economy. We're the hottest country in the world right now. I think you'd admit that, the hottest country. We went from a dead country a year ago to the hottest country in the world. So I think they probably don't like that. But we're doing great. I mean, we're doing great. I would say my message is call your local representative, congressman or senator, and tell them to get on the ball. The Democrats have caused this problem.
Can I ask one more Congressman?
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Where are you from?
I'm from Finland.
I love it. It's so nice. Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go with a killer question.
I would like to circle back to the icebreaker deal. So Finland and the US are strengthening their economic partnership through the deal. What other areas of cooperation with Finland do you see as possible at this moment?
Good question. We're going to be talking about that in a little while. We're going into the next door room, commonly known as the cabinet room, beautiful room, and we're going to be discussing that. But we'll be doing other things. It's a wonderful country with wonderful people. We've had a long-term relationship, but it's never been as close as it is now. We'll be doing other things. Go ahead.
We've been talking about a lot with the president. I mean, the two specific fields where I think Finland has strengths. One is quantum and quantum computing, and we know that is basically what gives food for thought for artificial intelligence. That's very important. The second one is actually networks. And you know that there are two sort of safe and trustworthy Western networks right now. One of them is Nokia. And the other one is Ericsson. And actually 70% of all broadband in the United States is Nokia. So one of the things that we could work on together is creating the 6G space through networks. And we actually, Nokia has 7,000 people working here in the United States and an American CEO.
Okay, anybody else?
Mr. President.
What is the international stabilization force that's going to deploy to Gaza? What is that going to look like?
To be determined, really I think there's going to be a large group of people determining what it will be, and a group of people funding it that are very rich countries are going to be funding it. People want to see this work. It's going to work. It's absolutely going to work. And it starts, it's already started. We've signed, as you know. Everybody's agreed. I think Monday is going to be a very big day, Monday, Tuesday, but it's going to be, depending on where you are, it's going to be a very big day. I think it's going to be a day of great celebration. I've never seen anything like it. The streets of so many countries right now, they're just roaring with love and with praise for the people that did this. And these are countries that did this. The whole world came together for this, even Iran. And I really thank them for it. Iran came out and said this is a good thing. It was a very good thing. So it was terrific. It's been a terrific experience for me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for having us. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Well, events in the Oval Office wrapping up there. Donald Trump bringing it to a close by talking about the peace deal, the 20-point peace plan for the Middle East. I'm going to bring back in Stephen Brisley, brother-in-law of a former Israeli hostage, Eli Sharabi. Thank you so much for staying with us and listening to that press conference by Donald Trump. I hope you don't mind me asking, but what do you and your family make of Donald Trump's role in all of this? He's being seen as the one to finally broker peace in the region.
Well, I think all of us have always tried to steer clear of the politics and make this about families and loved ones, our relatives. It's very difficult from the outside looking in to know exactly who has, played the killer pass in getting this over the line. The Biden administration clearly had a deal on the table, and that brought Ellie home. Trump and his administration were involved in that in the closing stages, and now the Trump administration are in power when this has happened. But it's less about who claims the credit for it and more about the fact that that 40 or so families are getting their loved ones back. And I don't really mind who's claiming the credit for it. We're just delighted to be getting our relatives back.
Yeah. As you said, to Elliot and your family, it doesn't matter who gets it done as long as it is done. And we hear Donald Trump saying that he could be leaving on Sunday to head to the region for the release of those hostages, 48 hostages, 20 alive, 28 dead. And we were just talking before that press conference about Hamas talking about missing bodies and how they are unsure of the whereabouts of some of the deceased hostages. In terms of your family, do you know about Yossi and whether you will be getting his body back in terms of, the logistics of this and the details? How much do you as a family and friends get?
Nothing more than the mainstream media gets, to be honest. When Ellie was slated for release, I found that out from unofficial sources on the Telegram app. It may well be that it will be similar with Yossi. As things stand, all we know is that Yossi was killed in January of 2024. His body has been there ever since, but we don't know whether his body's been held in a tunnel, whether it's under rubble, whether it's been buried, and exactly what sort of points of reference Hamas or Islamic Jihad have got to locate them. So in terms of the logistics of it, we really don't know whether we're in the hands of terrorists or in the hands of the recovery teams that I understand the international community are putting together to assist in locating them.
Yeah, understandably, there's a lack of trust there. As you said, bodies of hostages have been returned before, and it's turned out not to be the hostage that Hamas said they were returning. And you are in a position where you have to wait till Monday, Tuesday to find out exactly what's happening if Yossi's name is on that list. Can you look beyond Monday and Tuesday, though? Because the hostage release, to Israelis, this is it. This is perhaps the most important point of this 20-point plan. But after that, a ceasefire, a lasting peace. How optimistic are you and your family of that going forward?
I think it's difficult to be optimistic as such. I think there's cautious hope. Clearly, we can't carry on with this cycle of violence. There's been too much loss of innocent life on both sides of the border. There have been too many Israelis murdered. There's been too many Israeli soldiers perishing. And certainly there have been too many Palestinian civilians dying. All we can hope for is that now that the international community is pushing for this deal and is pushing to get through the 20-point plan, that they continue that pressure and do everything they can to make up for the fact that it's been an abject failure of international diplomacy, that it's taken 2 years to get to this point. there's now a moral obligation on the international community to make sure that there is peace and stability in the future. But what that looks like, it's just impossible for us to say. It's going to be many years in the making, but we just have to hope that the two sides can live in some sort of peace, even if that's an uncomfortable peace.
Yeah, those questions for another day, perhaps. I know you and your family are concentrating on Monday and Tuesday of next week. We wish you well, Stephen, you and your family, and I hope you get some of the answers and some of the closure that you're looking for from the days ahead. Really good to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, a ceasefire will provide some relief for the people in Gaza and an opportunity for essential aid to flood into an area that has been devastated by this war. Our data and forensics editor Tom Cheshire has been taking a look at the impact of 2 years of conflict there.
2 years of devastating war. This ceasefire could mean an end to the conflict and allow a final reckoning. Because at the start of this war, after Hamas launched an attack that killed 1,200 people in October 2023, few would have thought it would last this long. This was the destruction in Gaza only a week into the conflict, mapped by satellites using infrared to assess damage. 4% of all the buildings in Gaza were damaged or destroyed, mainly in North Gaza around Gaza City. Just a few months later, the offensive had massively expanded, taking in Khan Yunis in the south too, with more than half of all buildings damaged or destroyed, nearly 170,000 in total. On January the 11th this year, just before the first failed ceasefire came into effect, that had gone up to 58%, with Rafah in the south being more targeted. And this is the most up-to-date picture we have. More than 60% of all buildings destroyed, and the UN estimates that 90% of people's homes have been hit. Now, throughout the war, Israel has issued evacuation orders, although not in all cases. 71 were issued between January and July this year, indicating the scale of recent offensives. At the same time, the safe zones it had promised to Palestinians have also diminished. They're here in green. This was May last year, restricted areas in red, and this is this month. You've got vast swathes of Gaza marked as restricted areas. That safe zone diminished. Israel vowed to take control of Gaza, and it largely did. 85% of the strip before the ceasefire agreement became a military zone. And that, of course, came at a huge human cost. Nearly 170,000 people injured, more than 67,000 people killed, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. Now, they don't distinguish between fighters and civilians in those statistics, but they include the more than 20,000 children who have been killed, around 1 in 3 of the total death count. The IDF says they've lost 466 Israeli soldiers in the conflict. And right up until the ceasefire announcement, Israel was still prosecuting this war with its full force. This was this week in Gaza City. Now, these tanks will soon withdraw. The hostages held by Hamas will be freed. The rubble left behind is the next daunting task, rebuilding a land that lies in ruins and helping the people rebuild their lives.
So let's come here on the UK Tonight. We'll bring you some more of today's news, including the latest from Manchester, where a man arrested and released without charge after last week's synagogue attack is re-arrested at the city's airport. And Madeleine McCann's siblings give evidence of interactions with an alleged stalker who claimed to be their sister. We'll bring you the details from court.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent.
You are not getting in this elevator, okay?
The judge made it very clear that she could see no justifiable reason why Sakulas wasn't here facing British justice.
I promised I would get him justice.
Free, wherever you get your news. This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problems. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have. What would you do if this place wasn't open? This is the exact spot in Nottingham where their 19-year-old son, Barnaby Webber, lost his life.
I just think it's so cruel and so harsh.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
Sky News gets the full story first. Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. It's legal to let go. Set the speed and take the hands off. It's almost driverless, but not quite. Hans is a highly trained police dog. The force is incredible. It's really frightening, actually. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Police say a 30-year-old man arrested and released without charge after the Heaton Park Synagogue attack has today been rearrested at Manchester Airport on suspicion of failing to disclose information about an act of terrorism. It comes as the community marks 1 week on from the terror attack, which claimed the lives of 2 men. Today, people gathered outside the Heaton Park Hebrew congregation to mourn the victims. Our chief North of England correspondent Greg Milam has this report.
1 week on to the minute they stood, where terror had reigned last Thursday. This Thursday, a show of resilience. In prayer and mourning for the victims, and a reflection of how and why it could happen at a place of prayer.
Evil tried to defile these steps and make them the opposite. We will not allow that to happen, and evil will not prevail.
Among those there, friends and family of Adrian Dolby and Mervyn Kravitz, who lost their lives that day. The presence of so many police as reassurance to this community, a reminder also that they'd been warning of just such an attack.
What are your emotions today?
Still one of mourning, still one of fear, a sense of isolation. We feel very alone as a community, and one of anger. Very, very angry that this happened, that this was allowed to happen, and fearful that it will happen again. But also one of resilience. As you heard today with proud British Jews, we've contributed to making this city the great city it is, and we won't be cowed, we won't be beaten.
In synagogues across the country, they mourned the events of a week ago. There was a moment of reflection here in Maidenhead. In London, too, they paused to remember the victims, in silence, in assembly, at the Oasis South Bank Primary School. And, in the words of the mayor,
places of worship must be safe havens, and Jewish communities must be able to live and worship free from the fear of harassment, intimidation or violence. It's clear there's much more to do to rid our society of the poison of anti-Semitism, and we must redouble our efforts to stamp out this vile hatred.
In Manchester, Jewish leaders say an upcoming gig by the controversial punk rap duo Bob Vylan shouldn't go ahead if they are being listened to.
I don't feel that people watching this would want politicians to get in the business of sort of banning things on a kind of political whim. No, I'm not saying this is on a whim, because obviously there is a call, but I don't think it's our role really to do that.
The father of the attacker, Jihad al-Shami, chose today to call on people to stand together, united, vigilant and compassionate, he said, to prevent such attacks. For this community, it's clear there is still much more needed if it is to feel safe. Greg Milam, Sky News, Manchester.
Madeleine McCann's siblings have been describing the distress and scared interactions they had with an alleged stalker who claimed to be their sister. Her sister Madeleine, who went missing in Portugal in 2007. Polish national Julia van Delt and Karen Spragg from Cardiff are accused of stalking the McCanns for almost 3 years, making phone calls, sending emails and showing up at their address. The court has heard today how Van Delt believes she had memories of the 3-year-old's childhood, playing games with Madeleine's younger siblings, Amelie and Sean, before then claiming to have been trafficked to Poland. Our Midlands correspondent Lisa Dowd has more.
Amelie McCann is now 20 years old, but she was just 2 when her sister Madeleine disappeared on the family holiday in Portugal back in 2007. Now, she appeared at court via video link and alleged that in 2024 she started receiving messages from Julia Wandelt, who is 24 and from Poland, and is accused of stalking the McCann family. Now, in these messages, she claimed to be her missing sister. She was asking the family for DNA tests, and she claimed to have childhood memories of them, which Amelie described as creepy. She said the messages had a sound of desperation, they were persistent, they made her feel uncomfortable. She said at times she felt scared, and she was even sent photographs of both of them, which she said had been edited to make them look more alike. Now, when Julia Wandelt turned up at her home in Rothley in Leicestershire, she said there had to be a panic alarm installed by police, which was connected to a police station. Now, we also heard from her twin brother Sean in a statement. He said he too had received similar messages, which claimed that this woman was his sister Madeleine. He said it was disrespectful. He said, "I do not believe that she is my sister," and he said he didn't want anything to do with her. Now, Julia Wandelt and another woman, Karen Spragg from Cardiff, both deny stalking the McCanns, and their trial here continues tomorrow.
Lisa Dowd with the latest on that. Let's bring you this scene in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. Celebrations continuing there since news broke of the first phase of the peace deal soon to come into effect. President Trump this evening saying that the hostage release will happen on Monday or Tuesday of next week, and he is planning to head to the Middle East on Sunday. Pictures like this have been coming through to us all day here at Sky News of Israeli citizens celebrating this peace deal. This evening in Tel Aviv tonight. Yalda Hakim is next with more in the world.